Welcome to another episode of Natural Mojo. I'm your host, Pamela Sylvan, the Mojo Maker, and I'm bringing you energy and power for midlife from the great outdoors. This week, it's a very important topic if you're looking to thrive now that you're through your messy middle. It's the ultimate process to let go of the past and thrive. So I have 7 solutions or 7 parts to this one solution and this one problem, which is how to get out of that feeling of stuck and rumination about things that happened in your past. And for some people, they don't even know what the problem is. They just feel that, they just have that feeling of constant dread, constant feelings of unworthiness, constant feelings of low confidence, and so forth. And the thing is, you live more than at least half of your life and you're still battling these debilitating feelings. So this was something that I had to put myself through so I can get onto the other side and really enjoy and have a fruitful feeling this time of my life. So let's get started. All right. So again, the problem is you're stuck. You don't know how to get past these debilitating feelings. You're feeling low. You're feeling as if you're not worth the effort, or you've just basically given up, or maybe you haven't quite given up. You're about to, and you're still looking for something to help you through. And you've tried all of the outer solutions, haven't you? You've done the spa days, and you've gone shopping, you have a new hairdo, and you've gone and done your nails, and even maybe even worked out constantly, and you have everything in the world. You have all the toys, and you have the house, and you have the clothes, and you're still feeling that sense of emptiness. And I know that's something I went through at that point in my life when I was in my 40s. I'll never forget. I had this beautiful dressing room full of clothes and handbags and shoes, just everything that you can think of. And I was still dreadfully unhappy. I remember taking a bunch of garbage bags, the big green garbage bags, and filling it up with everything, just about everything in that room, and tying it up and giving it away. Because to me, all of that stuff just signified part of the problem. And I didn't even understand what the problem was. It was just this huge gaping emptiness that my life was going nowhere and I didn't know what to do about it. So let's get started with number 1. The first part of the solution is determining what you would like to achieve. What are you trying to do here? And I'll use myself as an example because 1, I've gone through it, and 2, it's just easier to pull myself in as a real world and real life example. All right? The problem was I was not feeling good enough. I was feeling unworthy and undeserving of anything that I wanted for myself. No matter what list of goals or list of plans I had for myself, I just couldn't get myself to get there because of my low self-esteem and low lack of confidence. And here I am, a woman in her 40s and struggling to make meaning out of my life. So I had to first decide, what is it that I wanted to achieve? And what I wanted to achieve was a feeling of worthiness, was a feeling that I was good enough. I mean, it didn't matter how much stuff I had gathered around me. This had to be a deep inside solution. It had to be a deep inside cleanse. It's no use looking pretty on the inside if the inside is a seething hot mess of stuff, of unresolved issues. Okay, so as you're putting yourself through this system, try to determine what it is that you're trying to achieve. Are you trying to find out what the problem or the block is? Are you trying to understand what it is that keeps you spinning in circles? Are you trying to understand what the exact issue or the exact fear is? You know, a lot of people try to go forward with solutions and they haven't quite determined what it is that they are trying to achieve. So at least sit down and ask yourself that all-empowering question. What is it that you want to do? So when you do achieve it, you know that you have achieved it. No use going off in different directions and bouncing off of walls. That is something you've been doing most of your life as you've been putting yourself through self-improvement or personal development exercises. What is the goal? Are you tracking towards the goal? So at least have that down as your first step in this solution to the ultimate process to letting go of your past, okay? What happened in your past that you would like to have some resolution around? As for me, I needed to have resolution around a story that was implanted in me by a member of my family, and I was a child when it happened. So it was like a shock to my system. It was a shock trauma, right? And shock trauma works on you in much the same way developmental trauma does. It becomes your story, and it's a lived story. It seeps deep inside your being, and you become that narrative. And you don't even understand why you're doing the things you do, or thinking the things you think, or feeling the feelings that you feel. All you know is that you're running on automatic and you're not feeling well. You don't feel as if you're getting anywhere fast. So determine what it is that you are trying to achieve. So, sorry, I was trying to find, what is it that was bothering me? What is it that was running that story? So the second part of the solution, after you decided what it is that you would like to achieve, decide how you would like to feel. Right? Because our emotions and our feelings are things that play a huge determination on the choices that we make in our life and the actions that we take. So if your subconscious mind and if the subconscious programming is running you, and every time a nasty, ugly feeling pops in, guess what? You stand down from your goals and your dreams and your vision. So you find that no matter how excited you might be getting, or how excited you might get towards a future outcome, you can't get yourself to the finish line because these nasty feelings are like boulders on your path and they get in the way. So how do you want to feel? Do you want to feel joy? Do you want to feel freedom? Do you want to feel a sense of clarity? Do you want to feel a sense of spaciousness and expansion? That's what I wanted. I wanted to be free so I can feel that expansion and spaciousness, not just in my mind, but all through my body and in my environment. So that's why it's like a decluttering. When you declutter your cupboards or your drawers and you get rid of the excess junk, this is the same way. Getting rid of that excess junk that continually flows through you. So determine how you want to feel: joy, happiness, freedom, spaciousness, expansion, whatever word that you need to put down. All right. So first is, what is it you're trying to achieve? And next, what is it, or how would you like to feel? The third thing is, maybe there are some tools that you need to help you on this path to freedom. I like to call it, this is the path to freedom. What tools do you need? When I was trying to work out what it is that I needed to do and start dissolving and breaking up those heavy feelings, I came across a process called EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique. You might have heard of this. If not, just Google this. But it's using the meridian points, the electrical meridian points on your body, and tapping on it as you talk to yourself. So once you decide how you would like to feel, this is where breaking up those old stories come into play. So maybe an old story might be, I'm just not good enough, or I can never figure things out, or I'm always failing. Maybe that's a constant and chronic conversation that you have with yourself. EFT really helps you stop that in your tracks. And when you're tapping on those meridian points, all right, and getting the energy flowing, getting that mojo flowing through your body with conversation, you get to feel sort of like the breaking up and crumbling away of those old stories. Now, this takes practice and it takes time, but it's doable. And I'm telling you, that's why they call it freedom technique, because it frees you of the energy and the heaviness of those old narratives that you continually flow through your mind and has had a grip on you forever. It's even normalized in your life because it's what you've always thought. So you don't even think there's anything wrong with the way you think. You think this is normal. And until somebody points out this information or points out the conversations that you continually have with yourself, you won't give yourself a break, okay? So find tools that are going to be able to help you. Maybe another tool might be a therapist or a coach or a mentor or accountability partner that can help you move through at least point 1 and point 2. Because when we sit ourselves down, we may not understand the process fully, or we may not know the questions that we need to ask for ourselves. That's why it's really a great idea to include a journaling practice in this. All right. Start writing down the things that you're feeling and the things that you're thinking. And I really urge you to keep your journal private. Keep it, it doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be complete sentences. It doesn't have to be anything. Whatever you need to write down on that paper to get it from the inside to the outside so you can actually see it. It would surprise and maybe in some instances shock you what's going through you. That sometimes it might be just pure vitriol that's running through you, but it's easy to get that out of you if you allow yourself pen and paper, space, and time. And maybe you might only journal a couple of times a week, or maybe you might be a prolific journaler that you show up every morning right upon waking, and the first things that come to you, you start to write it out. Or ask yourself questions like, how am I feeling right now? Or when you find yourself getting uptight or into an anxious mindset, take a moment and say, why am I anxious? And wait. And when the answer comes, write it down. Because as you begin to make progress and you go back to look at this stuff, you'll be so surprised, and it'll warm your heart to see the progress that you've made and you've shifted away from that way of thinking, okay? So determine the tools that you will need to help yourself along the way. It could be EFT, it could be a coach, it could be a mentor, it could be a journaling practice, it could be all of these things that you turn into a spiritual practice, okay? So let's move on to number 4. Now, number 4, it helped me in my forgiveness situation when it came to that person in my life that sidelined me and threw me into the life's pit. I had to put myself in their shoes. It's very easy for us to point fingers and tell people or to believe people are bad or evil or whatever is going on, but I really don't think that any human being wants to purposely harm another. There has to be something going on. Something is going on in their life that is causing them to lash out at another. So I try to put myself in another's shoes and ask myself, what is going on here? Why have they done the thing that they did? And in my case, I actually really tried to take the other viewpoint and the other perspective. And when I did that, I began to have a lot of compassion for that person, and I got where they were coming from. So me being able to forgive them was that much easier. Now, it did take practice. It didn't happen in an instant, mind you, but I was able to see why they did what they did. I didn't approve of it. I didn't give them great latitude about it, but I understood and I was able to forgive. And anytime I pulled myself back into a place of disapproval or even hate or discomfort or whatever, I would pull myself back to a place of understanding and compassion. So pivot into a different perspective. The different perspective might be attached to another person. The different perspective might be a situation or even a group of people. It doesn't matter. Your viewpoint is only one viewpoint and perspective on this planet. And it's not right or wrong, it's just your perspective. So always try to put yourself in the shoes of another to gain understanding and to gain compassion and to gain empathy. All right, this all helps you in this process. And as we continue to age and get older, the wisdom of experience totally suggests that these are the tools that we should have tons of experience around so that we can help those behind us live a more empowered and engaging life. So it's up to us to first take care of it for ourselves before we can turn around and help another. Okay? So let's move on to number 5. I speak about forgiveness because this was a big one for me in order for me to grow and to move on in my life. So forgiveness, I had to start practicing forgiveness rituals. Now, one of my favorite forgiveness rituals was writing out line by line that I forgive that person, that I flow energy to that person, that I flow love to that person. Then I might just throw it in a passing river or water, or I might burn it, and to let it go. I physically see the physical manifestation of me letting go of that situation, and in some cases that person. I might not have that person in my life anymore, but I let go of the energy of the invisible cord that has attached to me, keeping me stuck in the past. A lot of people are still living in the past of things that happened to them when they were a child, and it happened 40, 50, 60 years ago, and they are still moving through the energy of those moments, and they've even built upon it. So the story or the situation that actually occurred is not even the same situation that person is thinking. And we tend to do that. We tend to build it up even bigger and more colorful in our minds, because that's usually how story goes. We add on to it, especially when we're sharing it with other people. It's this high drama that we create, and we live in that energy. So if you wish to thrive in your midlife and beyond, letting go of that energy is paramount to the success of that happening, okay? So before we move on, just find rituals that feel good to you. The fire burning is a popular one and a very effective one. Writing it out. Maybe meditation and prayer. All right, a forgiveness prayer. You can find forgiveness prayers anywhere online, or you can just make one up straight from your heart. But practice a forgiveness prayer or a forgiveness mantra, if you will, every day until it lightens up and moves and shifts away from you. Now, it doesn't change what happens. It doesn't take away the situation, but it separates you from the incident. It separates you out from the energy that person happened to land at your doorstep. All right, because whatever someone did, and some people are unconscious about the things that they do to you, and they've moved on with their life. Meanwhile, you're stuck, and you continually ruminate, and you've taken on the burden of not enough and not worthy, and all of these things that keeps you from living the best version of your life. All right, so find a ritual, a forgiveness ritual that resonates strongly with you. Okay? And you can switch them up. Just because you found one doesn't mean you have to stick to it. Put some variety in there so you can feel it. Maybe you might even have a bathing ritual that as you pour water or scented water over yourself and maybe light some candles, that's all part of your forgiveness ritual. Okay? So make it fun and make it meaningful. All right? Let's move on to the next one. The next one, number 6, is to create a vision of the new you. In leaving the past, there must be a future you somewhere that you want to shift into at some point. And I know at this point it looks almost impossible to move from where you are to that person, but it is not. You have to leave the shores of the past to move and sail into the future of that future self. All right? So the way to do that is to first craft an image, a vision, a dream, a goal, whatever or however you want to craft it. So I'm standing out here in nature and I think of all the ways that things are formed and grown, and there was some sort of great architect around all of this. Who is the architect of your life? Right? In a lot of cases, it's never you. It's time to take back control of that and sit down. I don't care what age you are. A lot of people will say, oh, well, I've lived more than half my life. I'm too old now. You're not too old. You are still alive and above ground and breathing. There's still time to make steps towards that future you. Even if you don't arrive, you're still on your way. Isn't it better to get 1/4 of the way, halfway, 3/4 of the way? Even if you don't get there 100%, it's still better than not moving off of zero. Right? And a lot of people think, well, I'm not going to get there, so I'm not going to move. I'm going to stay where I am, stuck in the misery, stuck in desperation, and never make an effort to move. No. Midlife is a wonderful time to redesign who you are and who you want to be. So sit down. If it's too difficult for you to think this through, sit down with someone like myself. I'm a future self designer. I help people with the questions. I help people think through and excavate that future self, to excavate the vision of where they want to go, who they want to be, and how they want to be and feel. All right? This is so important because when you make that container for yourself, life This is the secret of life. You create the container. Life somehow seems to pour in and take the shape of the container that you built. But most people refuse to build the container. They're on default, just going with what landed on them years ago, and they've been in zombie mode ever since. Is that the way you want to live the rest of your life? If you were honest with yourself, I would say no. All right? So sit down with pen and paper or with someone else to help you think through the steps of where you're going next. Because tomorrow is another day, another 24 hours for you to put a container around that so life can fill in and take shape. Okay? So let's move on to the next one. I've given you 6 steps to this process, and number 7 is the most important part of the process. Number 7 is practice. For some reason, people think they just have to do these things once and everything should magically fall into place. Or maybe they might do it twice and think that, or 3 times. This is the thinking that goes on when people start going to the gym. Oh, I didn't get the stomach or the core that I wanted after the first day or first week, so I guess it's not working. I'm just going to sit down. And we might laugh and think how silly that is. But isn't it how we react to life? We want instant results. We want instant gratification. But you know that's not how life works. It takes time. It takes patience. It takes showing up and consistency to get the results. And the same way it is with this. Letting go of your past is no easy task because you lived all the days of your life up until now. It's part of you. So excavating and letting go little by little is scary because you don't know who you'll be without that identity and that story. So it's a scary proposition to let it go. I totally get it. All right? It was very scary for me to let go of that story of learned helplessness and poor Pamela. And hard done by Pamela based on the situation that landed on me when I was a child. But I had to trust. I had to let go. I had to share my story. I had to get around other people that had gone through similar things, and I knew it wasn't just me. And if they could do it, so can I. And I'm telling you, you can do this too. It takes practice. That's why this step, number 7, is so important. The steps preceding this are all wonderful, but if you're not willing to trigger this at least a few times a week, you're not going to find the results that you're looking for, okay? And your future self is calling out to you to say, please take time, right? Please understand that this is inside out work. You can put on all the makeup you want and all the fine jewelry and all the fine brand name clothes and drive the most expensive car and live in the biggest house and take all the wonderful trips. But if the inside is not taken care of, in those quiet moments, you're still going to feel that quietness in you that is knocking and saying, hey, what about me? Okay, so there it is for this week. I just wanted to share this because I think as we move in and continue to move along through our midlives, and for those of you that are in your messy middle, coming out of your messy middle, or have come out on the other side, this is something to think about. You know, especially if you're a female, we spent a lot of our time taking care of other people. It's now time to take care of ourselves. And yes, have a great hairdo and some makeup and some spa days, if you will, but the most urgent work and the most important work that you can possibly do is the one that is inside yourself, okay? So if you have any questions, please drop me a note at pamelasullivan.com, because to me, my life wasn't worth much until I got through this process. Let go of the past, forgive those involved, forgive myself so I can expand, I can rise up, I can thrive, and I can continue on to the future self that I have purposely and intentionally designed. So with that, I wish you a most wonderful journey from here on in. And don't forget to go over to pamelasullivan.com and begin to follow me everywhere. I'm talking all things midlife, all things vibrancy, all things vitality. And you know what? Even helping you with your personal brand, because the rest of your life is your personal brand and what you make of it. Okay? So have a great day, and we'll see you again. Bye-bye.